All right, ladies, shall we get down to business?
Let's go. All right, let's start off today with some Disney news. Did you guys hear Black Widow is getting pushed back again? This is like the third time that this movie has been pushed back. We were supposed to get it last March. We were supposed to get it this March. Well, sorry, we were then supposed to get it in October. And now we were supposed to get it this March, and they are pushing it back once again. I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but part of me thinks that this movie is going to be not okay or not good. Like I wasn't hyped for it to begin with because we should have gotten a Scarlet Witch movie 10 years ago.
Yeah. You mean Black Widow? You said Scarlet Witch.
Sorry, I keep saying Scarlet Witch. My bad. You guys know I'm Black Widow.
Because we're doing the WandaVision. I totally get it. But yes.
Yeah.
We should have absolutely had a Black Widow movie literally right after the first Captain America movie, or like
yes,
around
100%.
there.
Yep, that's right. After the first Avenger, we should have gotten the story of how they got Black Widow to join the Avengers too. Like we got everyone else's story.
Yeah,
but they just kept sending her to go do their work. Go get Tony. Go get the Hulk. Go talk to Clint and make sure that he's cool with his wife being hidden. Like she's been doing this work for Shield for gosh knows how long, and it's a little late. I don't know what they're gonna give me in this movie that I'm gonna need at this point. She's dead.
Also, I was just gonna say she's dead. It's dead, like they use it's that common trope where they use women, like female characters, to move along a storyline, but they don't actually give the character a storyline. Like she's important in every single movie that she's in. In Endgame, she was like super important. I mean, she was the one running everything. So it's like we just didn't even know.
If she hadn't switched sides or towed the line in Civil War, it could have gone a different way.
Left all the way.
Yeah. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for her doing what she did to let them get on the plane.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, she didn't even have like merch. She didn't even have toys. Like they were like, nah, forget this character. Don't nobody watch Black Widow.
Like, I mean, okay. She had
now there are a couple of Funko Pops, and I think there's one action figure. If you buy the whole set, I don't think you can buy her by herself.
What were you saying, Ashley?
She had important roles in all the movies, that's true. But she still was very limited. You know, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but they used her, but she wasn't a dynamic character. So I think people weren't, like, if you weren't a hardcore, like, Black Widow fan or a Marvel comic book fan, then you probably didn't consider Black Widow a super important character. She probably just seemed like, you know, Nick Fury's lackey or something. And so were people really interested in Black Widow who were introduced to her through the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, but like I guess the same can't be said for Hulk or literally any of the other Avengers that were supposed to be there, but like weren't. Like the original Avengers wasn't what the Avengers look like in these movies. But yeah, I mean, I hear you. That's just disappointing, I suppose. I really am interested in seeing the movie, even though it's probably trash.
Yeah, I think it's trash. I know a lot of people think it's going to be good because of the villain that's going to be introduced. His name is escaping me. I don't have high hopes for it. And the fact that it keeps getting pushed back, I mean, part of it's probably just a money thing, right? They're not going to put it out like Mulan because they lost money on Mulan. And they know that they can't just put it in the theaters because people aren't going to the movies because it's still a pandemic.
What else are they going to do? Like, that's the option. Either you put it out to stream it or you put it in the theaters. And either way, you're not going to make as much money as you wanted to make on this movie. So at this point, it's just like, pick one. And you can't pick movie theaters because it's still a panini outside. So you can't, we're not going to
panini. We are 100% in a Panasonic, and I'm not sure why everybody
it's the whole Pandulce out there. We're not going to the movies.
No, we're definitely not going to the movies. That's definitely a thing that's not happening for us right now. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there may be some contract things that they have to figure out, and that's why they want to really put it in a movie theater. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not looking good. Especially on another news bit. There's a new movie, a new animated film that's supposed to be coming out in March. that I'm super excited for. Raya and the Last Dragon
Yeah.
has an all Asian cast, has dragons, which are absolutely my favorite, and I think that it looks really good. The trailer came out this week, and I think it's a really good film. Now, I mean, it stars Kelly Tran from Star Wars. She's the main character in this, but it also has a whole bunch of other Asian actors and actresses, and I think it's going to be a really good movie.
That's exciting. I'm excited to see that. I saw the trailer. It looks fire. Like all I want to know is what's going on and what the like all the cool mythology behind it. Like I'm 100% trying to figure it out. So I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be really, really good,
It
really
looks like it's
excellent.
going to be really fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's from the creators of Moana, so I loved Moana. So I mean,
Yeah, I just hope from the trailer, I couldn't tell if there were songs in it because I didn't hear any
right.
music. And
Mhm.
so my biggest not gripe, but one of the things that I miss about classic Disney is the musicalness of them. That they were mini musicals, basically, or
Yeah.
real musicals. With Pixar films, you don't get that for the most part. You had Coco Loco. Sorry, Coco Loco. You had Coco, which I think was like the only film they've had where their music was a big part of it. And outside of your Frozens and your Frozen 2s, we haven't had a lot of movies. I mean, you just said that Moana was one of your favorites. I walked away from that movie. There weren't any songs that I like walked away
What?
singing.
What can
Oh,
I
girl,
say
what?
except you're welcome?
Hey, and then there's
What?
the shiny one. Oh, like me
The
and my brother
Brad
and his
Dillon.
son be singing the shiny song all the time. But I hear you. It was it as classic as say like Lion King. Nah, like those songs were not the same.
I guess, and I'm also a nostalgia geek, and I mean, they're not making Aristocats and Jungle Books and
Right.
they're not making songs like that anymore. But also, they don't have the Sherman Brothers anymore, so there's also that.
Yeah, they can only use Lin Manuel so many times.
Oh gosh. He
I
needs to
think the
stick, by the way,
songwriting,
Lin-Manuel needs to stick to writing music and not singing.
He trying, okay? Don't stop.
he is trying.
Don't
He's
stop his
trying.
shine.
I
I
appreciate that he
mean,
said, "Look, no one's ever going to cast me as a male lead, so I'm going to write my own movie."
Oh,
I get it.
hey.
I get it. That's
Yep.
entrepreneurship at its best.
Mhm.
that is
Do
very
you
bad.
boo?
Yeah.
But I went to go see Hamilton in Chicago back when the world was open. And I heard, like, I had been listening to the soundtrack for years, loved the soundtrack, whatever. But when I actually heard, like, the part of Alexander Hamilton sung by, like, an actual singer, oh my God. Like, oh,
I still
that's
haven't
what it's
watched
supposed
it.
to sound like. You haven't? Oh, well.
Mm.
Now we have
I
another
haven't,
thing to add to the list.
I
Okay.
haven't seen Hamilton
Haven't
either.
watched
We'll be
it.
watching
I want
Hamilton this
to.
year,
I just
maybe.
wanted to see it
But
live, but
I
the
feel
world.
like the quality of Disney songs has definitely, I think, has gone up while the quantity has gone down. Because I would take the music like in Frozen and Frozen 2 over even some of the music in The Lion King. You know what I'm saying? Like
Wow, that's big. That's big.
there doesn't need to be a song every 15 minutes in a movie to still give it a musical and magical feel for me. I would rather have like one or two big and well sung songs.
Hmm,
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear that. I could go either way. Like I enjoy movies that are not musicals and things like that. But I guess when they're remaking classics and stuff, I expect those songs to be there. And with new stuff, like yeah, it'll be fine. I can understand why they wouldn't be putting like all these songs in like the newer Mulan or possibly in the Raya movie because it's like dealing with like Chinese mythology and things like that. So maybe it's supposed to be of a respectful thing, like a respect of their culture kind of situation.
Mm.
But we'll see. I'm interested
Yeah,
either
I'm
way.
definitely interested. I'm definitely interested. But in saying all of that, what we do have now is WandaVision. Ladies, episode 3 solidified in my mind that this is a horror show.
It's terrifying. I'm scared.
I don't know. I wanted to get scary already. Like I know we're only in episode 3. I also want the episodes to be longer. Like they're only 30 minutes and
Yes.
I think I was tricked last week because there was 2 of them and so I felt like
Yeah,
it
it
was
felt
an
like a
hour
good
long
amount.
show. Right,
Agreed.
but it's only 30 minutes and it's like, okay, so is it a comedy or is it a
It's not a
drama
comedy.
horror show? But comedies are billed at 30 minutes and dramas are usually an
That's
hour long.
true. And it's
So
not even 30 minutes. It's like 25. Drive me fucking crazy.
yeah, it's a weird length for the type of show that it is. But I do appreciate that there was a whole lot more creepiness in this episode. I feel like they're building up the creep for me. Like episode 1, there was just that one scene at the dinner table for me
Stop
at
it!
least.
Stop it!
Yeah, and
Stop
then
it!
episode 2 there was a few more. And then
No.
in this episode where Wanda was in labor and everything is going crazy and what is the black girl? What is
Geraldine.
Spoiler
Tiana
alert,
Terry's
Geraldine.
name?
Spoiler alert.
Geraldine.
Sorry for not saying that, but you guys should have watched the show already.
Spoilers.
Yeah, when she just was like, I'm sure there's a logical explanation for it all. Because first I was like, does she see it, or is
Yeah, she
she
saw
like
it. She saw that shit.
oblivious to it? Because
No, she
with the
saw it.
stork and everything, I was like, how do you not? It's a big ass bird, like
It's
by
a
your
big
knee.
ass
You
bird,
just
man.
don't see it. Like you're that enthralled in your story that you don't see this big ass bird. No, but I don't know if she saw the stork, but I was relieved when she saw everything else and was just like, I'm sure there's an explanation for it. I'm like, well, what
My
explanation did you
issue,
accept, ma'am?
right? That's true. That's true. My issue with I was like, up until then, I wasn't sure if Geraldine was in on it, like everybody else, because she seems like we know that she plays Monica Rambeau. Like we know that she's a character that we're aware of. So I wasn't sure if she knew that she was in a sitcom. But when she was like, "Oh, Pietro, he was killed by Ultron," I was like, "Girl, why are you messing up? That's not
Why
in the
you do
script.
that? You not
That's
getting
not in the
paid to
script.
say those words?
You know that's
But
not
then
in the
it's like,
script. What are you
is
doing?"
she a bad guy or not? You know, because like,
Who?
Got it.
Which one?
uh,
Geraldine.
yeah, Geraldine is
We gotta
Oh, I
Geraldine,
find
think
out who has captured Wanda.
I think
or is
this exactly what you were about to say. Go ahead and say it. I think
I was
that
gonna say, or is Wanda creating this
yes.
world to protect herself from something? Like she's not, and
Oh,
those people are trying to get in because Geraldine was ejected from something that Wanda has going on in her mind because Wanda wanted her gone. Wanda said it's time for you to go, and she was up out of there. So if she has that type of control, maybe those people that we saw surround Geraldine are people that are like trying to get into Wanda to pull her out of this alternate reality that she's created in
I
her
think
mind.
that sorry, I keep doing that. I think that Scarlet Witch is the villain. Like I think that we're leading up to that she is the bad guy here. Like
That would make sense.
all the stuff that happens is her. It's her. And she's created this world. But how and why did she create it? Did she create it specifically so she could have these kids? Because broop, she
I
got
think
kids.
so. I think to protect her grieving brain. Like she has
Yes.
experienced trauma and she has shut down to the point where she's like, I'm going to make reality what the fuck I want it to be. And y'all are not going to tell me I can't do that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She is an incredibly powerful character, and people like to downplay her constantly. They clearly have not read House of M, but like
We
she,
underestimating women.
right? Exactly. She clearly, clearly, and quite literally made the reality that she wants, and that's what I
Look at
think
the
people
town
are trying to
motto.
break into.
This
Exactly.
home is where you make it. I mean, okay. So this episode, like the past episodes, was based on a sitcom that we're familiar with. So this had like a Brady Bunch
The
feel to
Partridge
it. Even
Family.
in Partridge, the song from the beginning, the opening credits was a Partridge Family tune. And then the credits did the 9 block, like the Brady Bunch, and it just had that like slapstick, silly feel of how some of those 60s, 70s shows were. I'm really curious if what's next is next Full House. Like what, like what? Where are we going next? As far as or are we gonna go as Ashley really wants straight into the scary.
That's what I want.
I
I,
I
I would.
kind of hope. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ashley.
I was gonna say I kind of hope that they skip ahead some and go and give me straight up '90s horror. I want to see like Buffy the Vampire Slayer
Fuck
and like
yes.
really get into the creepiness of it. That's what I want.
Some charmed action.
I like
Yes.
that. I like that. Skimpy outfits,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
monsters around the corner. Got you. Yes, into it.
I
Um,
think the next episode might be I don't know, I'm not sure, but I know in the trailer they had shown Vision and Wanda dressed in their comic book costumes,
yeah.
and it was like Halloween in the town. So I wonder if like that's going to be the pivotal episode, because I mean Halloween melds itself to
Yeah.
horror, right? Like if we're going to jump in, that might be the
That would be
episode
the
to jump
time.
in.
Yeah, and the timing of everything is going extremely quick. So I wouldn't be surprised if we were doing 80s, because slasher movies and stuff started getting popular in the 80s and then popped off in
Oh,
the
we
90s.
got to do Carrie. I would love for them to touch on Carrie.
Yeah, they're gonna do some
Never.
interesting stuff.
Do you
I
think
thought it was.
that there's real significance in her having twins? What do you guys think that that's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
allude to?
Yeah, that was pretty important in House of M. That was the main. That was how
Well, she's
it
a twin,
started.
so I
And,
feel
and
like
she's
it
a twin.
makes sense because she is a twin. I mean, and so I'm still waiting for them to bring us mutants and explain that they're mutants, because technically Scarlet Witch is the daughter of Magneto.
Actually, they changed that though.
In the comics?
They changed it all together. They changed her entire background to match the MCU.
Oh,
So now she's an orphan, and her power is magical. Just like, okay.
So,
I
are
really
they
liked
just
her being
never going
Magneto.
to introduce X-Men into like the
I think they
MCU
will.
though?
I
Because
I
think
do
they
think
will.
they'll use her for this because she got rid of mutants. That was the whole thing. And there was like a huge campaign where she she made it so mutants didn't exist. So I do see this being the reverse of that, where they're just like, oh, now mutants do exist because she changed the reality in a way. And so,
She's basically a living reality stone.
as
yeah,
long as I get
yeah,
my dark skin storm, I don't care how they do it.
that's
It's
true.
about listen, I think it's gonna get creepy enough for you. I think Melanie's gonna have to like watch this in the daytime with all the lights on, maybe phone friends, because it's already getting too much for me. I am like the biggest baby. I just it's a lot psychologically. Like I'm just like the way she tilted her head when she was like, "Where did you come from? Who are you? What is that necklace?" Like I was scared. This white lady's about to go berserk, and I don't know what's gonna happen. I was worried for Geraldine. Although I will say Geraldine's makeup was on point.
It was. Now I will say the creepiest part for me was when Vision was like, "What are we doing here? What is happening?" And she was just like, and it like reverted, like it just removed that, and it reverted to him saying something supportive, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh no!"
I at first
He was like,
I thought
something's
that
wrong.
something happened on my screen. I was like, wait a minute. I had
So
to
many
rewind 10
people,
seconds.
so many people did that. Cause we're all like, wait, did I mess? What happened? Calling
Right.
the
I
90
missed
people. I was like,
something.
I don't understand, but my video started to no,
Right.
that's how it's
Not
supposed to
real.
go.
Called Disney Plus support. Like, wait a minute.
I pay good money for this subscription.
Why my TV glitching? Like, no, that's
Oh
the
my god.
story. That's the story.
I'm really looking forward to this week's episode. So
Yeah.
buckle in, ladies. I think you're gonna get what you want. Actually, we'll see. We'll see. But I think you're about to get what you want.
I think it's gonna be scary. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Speaking of villains, however, today's Disness of the day. Ladies, let's talk Disney villains and villain arcs.
Oh man, where to begin?
Well, like
Actually,
last
take
week,
it.
you had asked us who our favorite villains were,
I have.
but what I wanted to hone in on this week is how the villains seem to get the better stories in these movies.
In all movies, in all literature, for real.
All the
Like,
time.
maybe let me not say in all of literature. I'm not going to say that. But in movies, at least, especially ones where there is like a clear triumph of good versus evil, The evil character always has the better story, and the good character only wins because he is good. That's it. It's just
Mm.
I am good and or I have superpowers, I'm either just a wonderful person or I'm Superman and I'm, I don't know, ethically right all the time somehow and fair and truthful and just at
You
all times.
sound disgusted
Like
with
you
all of these
sound
words that you were saying.
so
Like
freaked out.
it's
He's like,
like
ew, good
I am
people.
just the embodiment of all that is good in humanity, and I also happen to be super strong, super fast. I have laser vision, X-ray
I
vision.
feel
I'm
like
not
you are
an evil
coming.
asshole when I
I
have all of
feel
this
like
shit
you are
at my
coming for
disposal.
Superman, and I don't like it
I don't like
because
it either.
I
We're gonna have
don't
to have a
like it.
conversation. Because
You know,
listen, because here we go. All right. Like, yes, villains have great stories. I hear that. But we live in a world of duality, unfortunately. This is what we as humans have created, a duality where there is evil and there is good. And if the evil wins in the entertainment that we have, then we just all gonna kill ourselves because
and it's gonna
if
be
it's
too
winning in
much
real
like
life.
the truth. It's gonna be too much like the truth.
You, the
We
evil
can't
just
have
Yes,
don't
our
always
entertainment life to
win.
begin with.
girl, show me where evil hasn't won. Listen, I'll say this.
They don't
Exactly.
always win. Listen, he didn't get a second term.
You right, you right, but the
I'm
damage
just
is
saying
already
they
done.
don't always win.
You
Evil
right.
doesn't always win. That's all.
Let me.
Listen, and I'm
Yeah.
coming from. But I don't know. I think I've noticed it more in these recent years. People seem to be almost rooting for the villains. I mean,
Mhm.
uh,
That's facts.
and they always seem to be drawn so attractive.
Sexually?
Yes, and I'm just like, why? Like, I mean, okay, Scar, Jafar, um, what's this movie? Like, I don't know, even
Eric
I don't know,
Killmonger.
Eric
Killmonger.
Killmonger.
That's
Yeah,
who you want to talk about because that's who popped off.
everyone wanted to root for Killmonger, and I was like, no, that's not
He's
no.
trying to kill babies. No, thank you. No, thanks.
Cause and that whole dynamic made me angry because like if your retaliation to being oppressed for so many years is to turn around and then oppress those people, that's not how this works. That's not the solution. Ashley's making faces at me, y'all.
Ashley's face is killing me right now.
She's like, isn't it
Like,
though?
didn't
All
they
right,
kill
so
our babies?
listen. Revenge is not the answer. It's not.
Thank
I
you.
I understand that. I understand that revenge is not the answer. You know what? It's not the right answer. It is often the answer,
It's
but
a
it is
answer.
not the correct answer. It's not the answer that most of us want to feel like we would choose. But I think if we as individuals were honest with ourselves, I think a lot of times we want to choose revenge. As a collective, oppressed groups of people cannot choose revenge. That can't happen. But as individuals, we want reciprocity. We don't want, well, I was the bigger person, and so I'm just over here with my feelings hurt, or worst case scenario, actually dead, but at least I was the bigger person. Like,
I mean, it is human.
but fictional villains, though. Fictional villains is what we're
Facts.
talking about here.
So
Fictional
here's okay.
villains.
So I think in the past 10 years, Pixar has done a really good job of not making the villain clear.
Okay.
Right? So like say something so like a movie like Inside Out, there was no actual villain. It was her emotions dealing with change. Right? So is change the villain? Then you have oh my god, it was just in my head. You have Incredibles, right? So in the first Incredibles, the villain was the child who had been rebuffed by the superhero, and he didn't have powers, and so he wanted to take their powers from them or get rid of superheroes, right?
Mhm.
And then in Incredibles 2, you have, I mean, they hid that villain really well because it was the sister. I know, did you guys see Incredibles 2?
No, but continue.
I saw it.
Oh, it was the sister, and her again. It was anti the heroes, but using their own thoughts and feelings and emotions against them to fight from within. And I mean, the nuance that we're getting in villains nowadays is really unsettling. Like, because
like
it makes you almost want to go, who should, like, oh, he might have a point. I mean, he's bad, or they're bad, or they, they're doing bad things, but I mean, it's almost they're forcing us to have an understanding as to why.
Yeah.
Which I think
A
is a
lot
good
of
thing.
times bad people have
The best
decent ideas.
intentions.
I mean, look at Dr. Umar. You know what I'm saying? He's fucking
Stop.
terrible.
Don't do this.
But
Don't do this.
every now and again he'll say something and you'll be like, okay, I can get behind that, but still
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly. Exactly.
I will say that I think that's a positive thing. I think it's a good thing to be able to understand the nuances in situations that are outside of ourselves. I was very disturbed by how many people were all over Killmonger and thought that he was like killing it with ideas. Like that was terrifying. But it was terrifying to me because of his willingness to kill whomever, including black women all the time. And I was like, yikes.
When he
But
shot his girlfriend, I was done.
yes, I was
I
like,
cut him
ooh.
off at that point. When he shot her and was like, you are now a problem, and the easiest way to solve it is to get rid of you. I was done with
mean, but like, tell me that y'all wasn't looking at Wakanda funny when the whole continent of Africa gets colonized and looted and just ravaged. And they're sitting there on top of not only financial wealth, but technological wealth and all sorts of scientific knowledge and things like that, letting their neighbors literally die. So when Killmonger comes in and says, y'all have been sitting here on top of all of these resources that I just said, not helping people that look like y'all, that are right next door. I was like, you know what? That's an excellent point. That's a great
that's adequate. That's a great point.
But look what happened when they opened their borders. Thanos came and ruined the world.
Listen.
And that was the first thing that happened.
The worst.
When as soon as Wakanda said, hey, we got technology, then intergalactic threats want to descend on the continent.
So I said they should have. Wakanda had just been like, you know what? We're sorry. We apologize. We apologize, but I ain't got it, fam. I ain't got it. I feel like Thanos would have been like, well, I guess I'm gonna stay my butt up here because it was just fun.
You know what? They invited Thanos to Wakanda because as soon as the rest of the world saw that they had these defenses, they was like, hey, it's a Titan coming. We send it to y'all. All right.
They did.
We're going exactly what they did. Because we are not prepared. All right. New York got destroyed 2 years ago. We're still trying to rebuild that shit. We can't do it no more. We're sending them to Wakanda. Y'all can help.
We can't take them in New York. We say no, thank you.
No, but like, I mean, she's right though. I think from Wakanda's side, they'd be like, "Look, damn it, we just opened our borders and y'all bring us this bullshit. Like what the
yesterday.
what?
We've been open a week.
Just yesterday, just a week ago.
Starbucks, I was thinking we could get a Barnes and Noble over here or something.
Nah, you want to bring us intergalactic war? Thanks.
I was
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh man, that's hilarious. I mean, I agree. That's trash. They should have utilized their shit and widened their borders, Wakanda, I mean, to assist their neighbors. I agree. But that's just not how life goes, you know what I mean?
I feel like movies in general, and especially Disney movies, could benefit from a villain being persuaded from the dark side.
I think we have that. You say that.
That
has happened. Continue with their thought process. Why do you want to see that?
Because I feel like aside from villains most of the time just being geniuses, like most of the time they're geniuses.
I hate that too. I also hate that.
And like they're super smart, they invent shit, like they are useful people. You know what I'm saying? And the solution with villains is always to like utterly destroy them, either take everything from them or have them die in some kind of way. But it would be real useful for good guys because there is an endless amount of bad guys out there. It would be useful to try to get some of these bad guys who are actual geniuses onto the right side. Like, hey, help us here. There's another crazy person out there. What might he be planning? And what can you do to help us defend ourselves against this fellow crazy person? Like, what you got?
That's like every comic book campaign ever. It's like,
Oh,
you think it's
well,
always
see,
like you
I should
think
start reading the comic books.
you should, because like Scarlet Witch was initially a villain. That's number one. They obviously shit happens because you know how X-Men is. 5 seconds ago Magneto was bad, now he good. Over here, Charles is bad because his ideas is weird. Now he good. It's a whole thing. They go back and forth all the time in
Charles
the
is
comic book.
Charles is messed up. We gonna talk about Charles one day because Charles,
We got to,
that
because
whole
he is a mess.
situation is messed up. How you
He
stealing
is a
people's?
mess.
You know what? Let me not even
Let's
open
not.
the
Let's
door.
The
not. It's a lot.
X-Men, I think the X-Men do a real good job of bringing the duality of humanity into that type
Yes,
of world,
they do.
because people are not just straight up good or bad. I don't think there exists a person who you can say you are just a purely good person. We have light and dark in everybody, and it's about which side you feed into more.
Well, we already know which side that Ashley likes to feed into.
The
She's
Sith
already
side.
told us that she was a Sith Lord.
Yes.
I
Which, come on, girl. Now you know that your skin about to be all fucked up if you get on the Sith side. Like, you know that.
No,
They
no,
don't have
because
skin regimes.
I take in the darkness and exude the light.
Are you sure you're not a gray Jedi?
You know what I'm saying?
Duality in
You
both of
sure you're
them.
not a gray Jedi? Because that
See,
sounds real gray Jedi-ish to me.
sure, I like to think of myself as Lord Vader, who is
Oh,
like
I get it. I get it. You heard
What if
the
you're the
lie.
one? Are you the one that they prophesized for?
not even that, but it's just like, I you train in the light, right? And then you have to spend some time in the dark. Like, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the term shadow work, but it's about going
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
deepest, darkest parts of yourselves. And sometimes that shit comes out in a way that other people don't like. You know what I'm saying? But
Like
you have,
murdering a whole village because they killed your mama? Okay.
yep, just like
I
that.
mean, they were the village of marauders, though.
You got to work through your issues the way you know how to work
but
through
I
your
hear you.
issues
I
until
can't
you're
wait till
ready
we talk
to
about
come
that.
out
Sometimes you
the other
gotta.
side and back into the light.
Okay, Lord Vader.
I get
All
you.
right.
I hear that.
So
My
staying in
brother
this
would
vein,
be so proud of you. Hold on.
it bothered me how much people resonated with Kylo Ren. Like they loved him when they first saw him with his little corrupted lightsaber.
Yeah.
But I think to the point that you're making, what made his arc so interesting was he'd started in the light. I mean, he was being trained by Luke Skywalker. He's the son of Han and Leia, and then here he becomes this Sith Lord, like in charge of all of the stuff. Like that's an interesting story, right? You can be more interested in that than say Rey. And so I kind of get and understand why people might have been drawn to him, but to the extended point, he got a redemption story that I much appreciated.
He did.
That's true. So did Vader. I mean, it's funny because my brother, who's also a Sith Lord and loves all this shit, he is also very into Vader. And I remember having this conversation with him, and he was like, "Vader's not all the way evil," and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, clearly, but that's kind of the point. Like, yes, Kylo Ren was more interesting because he had struggle, and I think that's what I mean, like struggle internally, not I mean, not
I mean,
Honestly, what
the
was
man
the point
killed
of
his
Ray?
daddy.
right. So he had
Killed
struggle, like
his daddy.
Mhm.
internal issues, and
Sure.
I think people relate a lot with that because we all have that shit. Like no matter, um, I laugh because I feel like some people have more actual struggles than others, and we're not gonna touch on that today.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
everybody has their version of struggles, internal, external. So it's hard to love somebody who's all good. Like Superman hate is on an all-time high because
It really is, and I don't like it. I
he's
don't stand
always
for it
supposed to be
either.
righteous and good,
I
and
don't
It's
that's why
stand
too
for it.
good. He's too
No.
good.
he's not
No
too good
such
though.
thing as too good for
But
a
he's
superhero.
I mean
Superman is the epitome of what we as humans should be, and he not even human. Like it tells me
And
that we can't even
exactly.
get there.
Why is Why is he the epitome of good humanity and he's not even a goddamn human?
That's
Why
the
is
point.
that a thing?
Because we as humans suck.
That's
Like, look
crap.
around. We're
Humans are crap.
crappy. Humans are crap. That's why we needed to
Trash.
bring an extraterrestrial who kind of looks like us to be like, look, I don't. Because listen, if Superman had chose violence, imagine if he woke up and chose violence one day. The
Everything.
man could
Exactly.
disseminate the whole world. So I'm happy that he has chosen to be the epitome of Boy Scout. Like,
He grew
thank
up
you,
on
sir.
Earth, though. He
Because
grew up on Earth.
Brightburn was
He was in
He
Kansas. What was happening
he
in
might have
Kansas?
known the same thing
Sorry,
that happens
Kansas. Sorry if you're
world
from Kansas. I
over.
don't mean to offend you.
He might have known that he wasn't human for a long time, but he grew up around humans. He had a human experience, and unless Kryptonians have like a impervious psyche, then the human condition would have imprinted itself onto Superman's brain. And we would have had to see him go through a real struggle of whether or not to be a hero or to subjugate humanity and be like, all right, y'all are doing this wrong. And so now I'm in charge.
Might I rebut?
Mm-hmm.
I agree that he would have had the human experience imprinted on him, and he did. There was plenty of times that Superman has been inched towards one side, like to the evil side, either for tons of reasons. He's been coaxed, he's been hypnotized, he has a weakness against magic, so he has been put under spells. And listen, it's tragic and terrible every single time. But him himself, he chooses good all the time. He was raised human, he was put in situations with humans, obviously with shitty people, and he still decided all the time to be good. And that's what we should all be trying to do, to be good.
Agreed. And this is, I mean, that's
Why
what,
do
so he's
people not
one of
know
my
that
reasons
Clark
that
Kent is
he's
Superman?
my,
His glasses.
Oh, what?
I said, how do people not know that Clark Kent is Superman? His disguise is literally
girl,
just
that's a whole,
That's a whole
I don't
thing.
even know. I don't
It's a
even know.
it's
whole
just
listen.
glasses. Like, why has somebody
Oh,
at
he
the Daily
also slicks
Planet
his
not
hair
said,
back.
He
He
slicks his
also
hair.
slicks
"Are
his
you
hair back, girl.
Superman?
You
Okay,
know,
so I
sometimes
got
people look different when their heads
Do
is
I
I
up.
look
have
like
the
a
actual
completely different
response.
person?"
Okay, so the actual reason is that people don't want to believe that Superman is just this motherfucker sitting down the way from them on a computer. People don't want to believe that. So he puts the glasses on, suddenly he's different. He's meek. He also,
Yeah,
shrinks
it's not
to a
just the
bit.
look. It's not the look. He transforms. Like, as Clark Kent, he's a bumbling fool.
Yes.
He's bumbling. He's clumsy. He falls over things. He's like Hercules in the beginning of Hercules, the movie, the
He
cartoon,
is
right?
he is
He's that.
Beyonce and Sasha
He's
Fierce is
Superman's
Superman.
clumsy twin. Here's the thing about
Yeah,
Beyonce and Sasha Fierce, though. They're the same person, and everybody knows that.
that's true.
So I don't understand how
But
everybody
this is a
doesn't
fictional
know.
character.
Well, it is also, yes, it is also a movie and a comic
Fictional.
book, so there's that too.
I would like that he was like a shapeshifter or something and he could change his facial features or something. And that's not the point though. We're supposed to be talking about villains.
I'm just
This
saying.
is my point. The good guys are terrible.
What?
The good guys are
I do
not
not
the good
agree.
part
I
of
don't
the
agree.
Incorrect.
story. The
Incorrect.
good guys are not the good part of the story. The good part of the story is the bad guy.
That depends on the story because it's not like the good guys don't go through shit. Like every good
Right.
person goes
Right.
through the things and they make the choices to be a good person, and that's why they
So
be getting rewarded.
so for me, right? So my favorite Disney princess is Cinderella. And for the same reason I love Superman, I love Cinderella. Cinderella got put through a whole lot of stuff and still was a nice person. Like, she didn't have to be. She didn't have to do any of that. She could have left. She did not leave. She did what she thought her father wanted her to do. Now, Lady Tremaine is a very interesting villain. What is her catalyst? For her daughters to get everything that Cinderella had? Like, because that's pretty much what happened. I don't understand why she is so mean to Cinderella. But do you find her more interesting than Cinderella?
I don't think so.
I honestly don't find the story of the Disney version of Cinderella that interesting as a whole.
That's interesting. Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah. So like the stepmother is the evil stepmother. She's a mean person and she just is. Cinderella is the downtrodden, kind at heart, truly good person. And so she gets her wish because she's good.
Yes.
And then she is ultimately rewarded, and her stepsisters are not because one is good and one is not.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It's.
I will say that it kind of removes the duality that they are now, I think, trying to implement. That
Yeah,
story
like
is very clear that there is a good person and there is a bad person.
classic.
Somebody who
Yes,
is sadistic
yes,
and somebody who is literally trying to survive but is being the best
yes.
person they can be about it, you know?
It is. It is the classic good
The
triumphing over evil
evil.
just
Yeah.
because it's good. Yeah,
I guess I'm not understanding why that's wrong.
I don't think
Oh,
it's
And
wrong. I don't think it's wrong. It's just not that interesting. There's
oh,
no
or
like
relatable.
right. It's it's just like it's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale.
So like I guess cuz like in real life the lines are never that clear, but
Yeah.
things are never black and white. So I mean sometimes you know what? That's not true. That's not true. Sometimes they are, I guess, but you know, most often there's a gray area. And I think most of us live in this gray area or at least are working within it. And I think that's why it's harder to see somebody being super good and only being rewarded for being good because a lot of us, you know, we good, but we bad sometimes, you know. Sometimes you know, dip
Good
into the
people do
chocolate.
bad things sometimes. Bad people do good things sometimes. Like
Yeah,
most
which
people
I've
just live somewhere in the middle where we're just
yeah.
trying to survive and are probably doing some not great things to somebody in order to survive. It's we just live in a world where that type of fairy tale, I think, is it's just not interesting to me.
yeah, and I guess, and I think this is where I think that's the crux of it. I suppose for me, I've noticed this trend where those kinds of stories where this is the good person, this is the bad person, they have a conflict, good will triumph. To your point, more and more people are not finding that interesting, and I want to know why that is. I think it has to do with real life, but are those the morals that are being taught in those classic fairy tales not important, but like do people not resonate with that anymore? Because it just feels like there's a push against those kinds of stories, and instead we want complicated villains and complicated heroes because that mirrors, I guess, real life for some people. But I mean, I guess for me, I like the escape of knowing that there could be a perfect world where we can eradicate evil and all live happily ever after. But I mean, I know Care Bear Land does not exist, but I would like it to. Like that would make me happy.
No, I totally I hear that and I resonate with that. Like I do think that those stories they are there for a reason, whether or not they're bastardized by Disney or not. The morals of those
Whole
stories,
other show, a
a
whole
whole
other
other
show.
show.
The
But
original fairy tales usually have that same depth that people are looking for.
dark as fuck too.
Yeah, Disney
Yes,
made it's sparkly and everybody's happy, and look at this sparkly happy person living happily ever after. And it's like, well, that what is the lesson there? What are you telling me? Are you telling me that I need to accept abuse from everybody because that's what makes a kind person? Are you telling me that the only way that I'll be rewarded is to constantly put myself last? Like, is that what you're telling young ladies? Like, what is the lesson of Cinderella?
I think the lesson is you can be authentic and true to yourself and have aspirations to be in a different place without being rude and mean and nasty and cynical and all of that thing. Like she didn't have to do like she was. It's not like she never got mad. She got mad. These two girls were always accusing her of things that she didn't do, trying to kill her little mice friends. Like it's not like she never got mad. It's not like she never showed human emotions. It's that she didn't, she wasn't poisoning them every morning. Like she made their food. Like she could have killed all of them one day. She could have been like, all right, I'm sick of this, and put some arsenic up in that tea and it would have been a wrap. But she didn't do that. And I think that it's like the lesson is more about the fact that things can get better and you can live a pure, clean, focused life without turning into the people who are treating you badly.
kind of like Job in the Bible.
similar. Yes, I think that's the lesson. But I mean, to your point, I can see how you can view it as, in order to be redeemed or get the things you want, you have to go through this struggle. And I don't like that as a message at all. When we see that a lot with female characters, is they have to have something horrible happen to them before they get their sunshine day. And I don't like that so much. So I hear you. And I think that they've tried to change it a little bit in more modern movies.
I mean, I think with all hero stories, the hero has to have a tragedy, because the tragedy is what allows the hero to make the choice to still be, that good
hero.
Heroic. Yeah.
person. And yeah. So you got to have the tragedy happen to a hero, and I guess Disney has a lot of female heroes, if you count the princesses. Protagonists,
Yeah.
maybe not heroes, protagonists.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely turned Rapunzel, or they made her story seem more like she was a savior in that story, telling it from the standpoint of Flint Rider, because she saved his life basically with her hair. So I mean, they definitely flipped that whole concept of Rapunzel, because that was just a damsel in distress story. Rapunzel didn't do anything. She was born because her daddy was a thief, and then she was stuck in this tower, and then some dude who was like, oh, your voice sounds sexy, I want to hit it, was like, let me up, and she let him up. Like, nothing about that story is okay. Like, nothing about her existence in the original story is cool. Like, you don't get any visitors, and the first man that you see, you're like, yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Ma'am.
Absolutely. How long was she locked up in the tower?
She was only 14 or 15.
She was 15? Never mind. Disgusting. Put that child away. Lock her up in the closet.
That's how most of
was the thief also 15?
No, sorry, not Entangled. I'm talking about the original story.
Yeah,
in the original story,
the guy that she lets up.
He was a prince, so I'm assuming he was much older. He could have been young. He could have been young. But he was a prince. Like, he came from another kingdom. I'm pretty sure if he was a prince, he was probably a little bit older. I don't think he was 14 riding around the countryside looking for random towers with women in them.
In those olden days, adulthood was a lot sooner than it is for us.
True. This is true.
Adulthood was true. You a man at 13 years old, go build yourself.
But they were wifing up these women at age 14, 15 because they wanted to get as many kids out of them as possible, because somebody got to work the farm.
Gross.
That's true too.
Sorry, that's what it was. But I mean, they were older men who were marrying these women. So I don't know. My whole thing is I think that they can do a better job of fleshing out the hero's story so that they are as compelling, because I feel like we've shifted too far into making the villains more interesting, because I think that that's just what's playing out when we're watching these trailers, when we're watching these movies. I don't like it. I want heroes that are interesting, so people root for the hero, because it bothers me that so many people are like excited and rooting almost for the villain. Like, I'm scared. Like, what is that about us as human nature that we're just like, bad guy, yeah, you're cool. Like, it makes me uncomfortable.
To be fair, they also make the villain look super cool, and they're likely super hot.
They are also very attractive.
So is that our fault? Like,
yes.
it's my fault. Have you seen Loki? I will take the back shots. Like, that's my fault. Is that my fault? They cast him. He could have been ugly.
He looks like he's ill to me.
Oh, I like.
You don't like skinny men?
They usually.
I like skinny. I like skinny. I think it's the dark hair and the pale skin and the gauntness. It's just like, are you alive?
Too much for you?
Are you still?
I mean, if he was dead, that, like, not a zombie but a vampire, still in.
I get that.
Well, vampires are a whole other story, girl.
We got a whole.
To Melanie's point, and to give y'all boys Superman some credit somewhere, I guess.
Thank you.
I appreciate Man of Steel. I appreciated how they went back into Clark's story in that movie. In that movie, I rooted for Superman. I was like, okay,
In the most anti-hero movie he was in. Look at that.
yes, yes,
This
exactly,
bitch.
yes,
Well,
that
we have figured out how to get Ashley to like the hero.
where he had to
Zack
like
Snyder got her.
he had to face his humanity and his actual and his Kryptonianness and had to make that decision. I was like, all right, I respect this Superman. And then they ruined it with the next movie he was in. What was it?
Batman versus Superman.
Batman versus Super. I was like, what the fuck is this? I hated that whole thing. That's DC
I
though.
like
That's
that.
not that's not
So
Disney.
speaking of, um, yes, I believe we have some tea.
Oh, do we ever? Oh goodness. So I mean, I don't want to get too racial, but we have not in this episode. But we have some issues with Gina Carraro in The Mandalorian. There's been article after article about her Trumpism, and people are still calling for her to get fired. It does seem like the noise has affected her viewing in the like her in the show. I haven't watched it fully, but I have heard that in the first season she was much more prominent. In the second season, she's not so much. So maybe that's having to do with that. Not sure, but
I mean, the way the story plays out, she isn't necessary for the plot until later in the movie, later in the filming. But I wonder if she would have had a larger role. There was talk at one point of her getting her own spinoff because we were all excited when it first came out to see a female character with a lead role in
right.
a Disney who was kick ass. Like we
And
were
she
all
was
excited for that.
a little bit bigger too, which I thought was really cool. You know, different
I was
sized
excited
woman.
to see her muscly ass kicking ass in that show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
there had been talk of her getting her own show, but it's table. She so Lucasfilms and Disney and the Star Wars franchise have really gone to bat for a lot of their actors in general. Like they have had, there's been pushback obviously with the trilogies, the later ones, and even when the prequels came out. But they're really, for the most part, good about supporting their actors. But I mean, if you listen to anything that John Boyega says,
I was about to say,
or
oh, yeah,
stuff
just
that
trees.
right, or the stuff that happened to Callie Tran, y- they have an issue
They do.
with race, and it's in their fans. Like they have an issue with their fans and race. It's not just them. So they might be trying to do what they do, and maybe that's not enough. But on the other side of that is this like toxic fandom, which is really
Yeah.
disheartening, especially for people like myself who didn't come into the fandom until later. And now, wanting to find like-minded individuals have to navigate these really toxic waters at times.
Yeah. When you search for Star Wars fandoms, you have to put black in front of it. Like you just have to. Or you're going to have to wade through a sea of racist and sexist bullshit. It's
Yeah.
it's toxic. It's white toxic masculinity all up and
Yes.
through that fandom.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about like whether or not I would want Disney and or Lucasfilm to like put out a statement against their fandom. You know what I'm saying? Because like what I want them to specifically say, like, we don't stand with this toxic masculinity and toxic racism that is prevalent in a lot of our fandom spaces. But it's like, wouldn't that be I guess it wouldn't be obvious, but like, is that something that really needs to be said when this fandom is not really associated with the companies?
Mm.
Why are the companies apologizing for things that their fans say? Now, their employees is something different. If there are people who are employed by Disney and Lucasfilm participating in this, toxic culture, then that's a different thing. But to expect Disney or Lucasfilm to put out a statement saying they don't agree with their fan statements to me seems frivolous. It seems like it would be hollow if they did it anyway. And then like what would that really do for
I
Black?
want them to say that they don't condone white supremacy. I want them to say everything that President Biden said in his inauguration speech. I want them to say, we don't tolerate this. We don't like it. We would expect more from our fans. I want them to say that. Now, would it cost them some money? Maybe. And is that why they don't do it? Perhaps. But what they are doing on the flip side is supporting their actors and saying, we don't tolerate you targeting our people. And I guess that's supposed to translate into stop being racist, but they haven't exactly said that.
As far as Gina Carano, that's her.
Carraro, yeah.
Gina Carraro or Carano?
Carraro.
Carraro. I don't think that her supporting Trump is enough for her to be fired. If it were up to me, it would be. But I think legally, you can't do that, right? But I do feel like the anti-mask rhetoric, that type of thing, I think that's enough to fire her. Because at that point, it's like, whether celebrities want to admit it or not, they have influence over their followings. And so when it comes to like a public health issue like this virus is, if you use your platform against the interest of public health, I feel like that's enough for an employer to be like, okay, you're creating an unsafe work environment here because we know that you're not out there following health guidelines. We can't have you bringing that onto our set, so we're going to ask you to leave now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. We have some changes to rides coming to, I think, Disney World. I wasn't sure about. I know that Splash Mountain is changing, and then there was a jungle ride, which the name has escaped me.
Splash Mountain and the Jungle Cruise.
The Jungle Cruise. Okay. So apparently the Jungle Cruise had lots of natives portrayed in a lot of different ways, subservient, submissive, and things like that. So they decided to make changes. And of course, whenever Disney or any company makes changes in favor of diversity, their fandoms always freak out. Which is, I shouldn't be surprised any longer about the racism that is, running deep
embedded into American culture. Let's just put it on the table. Let's
Yeah.
put it on the table.
Yeah, like
It's very foundation.
That's
Which is why they get so mad when you attack racism, because they think that you're attacking America. And I'm
You're
like,
attacking the very foundation of America.
Yes.
Like, what? How dare you? You are not a patriot if you are not racist.
Yes, that's exactly how it sounds. That's exactly, like, anytime you say anything about being anti-racist or being anti-bigotry or being, let's stop homophobia or any of those things, everyone acts like, well, not everyone, but the bigots act like you are attacking the very fabric of what this nation is built on, because we are.
It's like, yeah, we can't make it change.
Because it's the truth. Because it's the truth.
It's very sad, especially as someone who was born in America and very much enjoys the fact that she's an American citizen, but it seems like the rest of the country does not agree that she should be happy about that fact.
No, but that's what real patriotism is, though. Being able to say, you know what, I love my country and I love it enough to call it on its fucking bullshit and say,
yes,
exactly that.
Say that.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're not going to make things change by being quiet. Like, I'm not trying to live in a place where it's okay for people to make fun of Native Americans and their struggles while they still lose their land.
Until this far into the 21st century.
It's 2021. And you're just now saying, maybe we shouldn't depict Native peoples this way. I mean, look how long it took the Washington team to change their name. And they fought that.
They fought hard.
And nail.
Like, really?
I said, absolutely not. We will not change it.
Never. He said never. He said never.
The craziest thing to me are the people that were like, I would think that it's like, honoring Native Americans that the football team.
John, shut it up. Shut it up, John.
My entertainment would be named after them. Who cares that it's an actual slur? I mean, it's an honor, right? That's
But
what I
that they get mad when we call them pink toes or we call them snow bunnies. Or we,
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
Karen?
Or crack
They
or
got mad about Karen?
gosh forbid we call you a cracker. Oh.
have mercy.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
worse than the N-word. Let them tell it.
Right, exactly. In their minds, we have now blasphemed to the highest level.
How dare we?
You know what?
Karen, yeah.
Cracker and racist are the two worst things that you can call a white person. You'll break them down every single time you call them
Every
cracker,
time.
you call them a
Every time.
racist. That's it.
Every
Like,
time.
They don't want to hear
first off,
nothing else you got to say. I am not a racist or a cracker. You
get that
bitch.
camera out of my face. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the second thing, because usually it's being recorded.
And then you got the other one who want to be oppressed so bad, that they turn themselves into colored people. What you got? Your Rachel Dolezals, your Baldwin. Just kidding. I don't know what's wrong with her, ma'am. You can speak all the Spanish you want to.
Oh, that's a lot.
Scarlett Johansson.
Everybody wants to be Scarlett Johansson. Everybody does. Everyone wants to be ScarJo. Everybody.
Do we though?
No,
Nobody.
Scarlett Johansson wants to be everybody. Scarlett Johansson.
Sorry, yes, I meant that the other way around. She wants to be everyone.
She's like, I could play a native.
One day she's gonna play a black man. She's gonna play a black man one day. She was probably mad at Tina Fey for getting to voice the guy in Soul because damn it, that would have been my chance to be a black man.
I would have been perfect for that part.
Yes. Yes. I will listen, I would clown her all day on some of the things that she's done because it took her so long to walk back and be like, oh, actually, yeah, I shouldn't play a trans man.
Literal years people have been telling her, you are taking roles that you should not take. Say no sometimes. You have enough money. Disney is signing your checks now. You don't have to pick up every single check they put on the table, ScarJo. You can leave checks for somebody else.
This is true. And she used to be she used to be my absolute favorite. And also when she was a little thicker, I think maybe she had more padding around her brain and maybe that had helped her out a little bit. Maybe that's what
she's like, I'm trying to show range.
It does not mean you play a black man, girl. Go sit down.
Sit down somewhere. Oh Lord. I think that's all the tea that I have.
That tea was hot, girl. That tea was hot. I appreciate it. That was very good. I think, Ashley, you have our random Disney question for today.
I do. Okay. So, excluding characters who are just straight up magical beings, a genie, a fairy godmother, somebody like that, whose powers would you want in all of the Disney universe to include the MCU?
Oh.
I got you. I got it. I'm gonna go with my girl Wanda because you know what? Sometimes reality is too much. It's too much, and I would like to change that. And hey, who says I can't make my own little world where I have a boyfriend for 2 seconds, and then when I don't want him there, he gone. You know what I'm saying? Like that sounds lit.
Great.
Lit to me.
Pop in, pop out. There you go.
Pop in, pop out.
I like it.
You said excluding pure magical people, so that would exclude like a Merlin, right?
Yeah. Ooh, girl, you trying to take over the world?
A wizard, anybody who can wave a wand or grant.
So no wand waving. Okay, so none of that. I know I just did this whole thing about how I didn't like villains.
Girl, what? It's Maleficent, isn't it?
But it is, I kind of feel like yes.
Oh my goodness! How did I know though?
Because I mean, she has all the powers of evil at her disposal. All these minions who can do whatever. She could turn people into things, turn herself into a dragon. And I already explained how I have affinity for dragons. I just think Maleficent's kind of doing the thing. You know what I mean? Like
she's petty though. She go against your entire philosophy of
she does, and that's why I feel like you guys might judge me. But
whole talk about people identifying more with the good guys and
wait a minute.
I feel judged.
She an anti-hero person that she out here like I don't like anti-heroes. They switching stuff and giving people backstories, and that's a whole backstory for
Well,
Maleficent, ma'am.
here, listen. The Maleficent movie showed me that she's not actually the villain, so it's okay.
Oh, so it's
She's
fine.
just
Oh,
it's fine.
it's crazy how that works sometimes. How sometimes the bad guy is not really the bad guy because there is a duality in all beings.
Oh, here she go. Here she
Nobody is
go.
purely good
And
or
how
bad.
Point
and how
made.
sometimes
Point
she's in the
made.
gray
Yeah.
area.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Point made. I listen. I'm just answering your question. I will take Maleficent's powers. Thank you very much. I want to fly. I want to become a dragon, and I want to be able to turn things into things. That's it. That's who I pick.
That's
What about you, Ashley?
I would take Tony Stark's money.
and his white privilege. That's the only
No,
other.
it has to come with the white privilege. It has to come with the white privilege.
Has to. It has to. Mhm.
That's his
Definitely.
superpower. And you listen, that's
His
a good one.
superpower is that he's rich and white. That is 100%
Right.
his only
So
superpower.
it's
He's a little
Batman.
smart. He's a little smart.
Absolutely.
Listen, I don't even.
Batman's superpower is white privilege. That's what it is.
Well, he's smart. He also knows all of the. I'm a Batman fan.
He's
I'm not gonna do this.
no, we will do this. He is just a detective. That's it. He's not smart.
He is a genius
He
detective.
is a genius. He's very smart. He is very smart. Yes, he is. But
Have to get up
also,
to this.
you would think that being as smart as he is, he would understand like economics, and he would understand how money works, and he would understand like why henchmen are henchmen, and wouldn't
So-
like
Get to the root of the problem, Batman. Get to the root of the problem.
And
Wow.
he's the billionaire, right? He's the billionaire, right? So instead of breaking the legs of people who are just trying to feed their fucking families any way that they
Thank
can,
you. Thank
Gotham
you.
City,
Thank
because
you.
Gotham City is, he could just, as Bruce Wayne, without ever donning a cape or building a piece of crime-fighting technology, fund services that would lower crime.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
would
Thank you.
like to
That's all he. One second. Let me add a little bit before you rebut, since we both
I
on the
feel
same
like we
time.
don't need it.
I'm just gonna say, Gotham has been trash for Bruce's whole life.
Wow.
The whole
His
time.
whole life. You have a catalyst. Somebody killed your parents in an alley. That should have made you say, you know what? To prevent this from happening to future Bruce Waynes, let me go ahead and fix this city with all this money my daddy done let me. But no, instead, I'm going to feed my vengeance, build these tools, and act like I do not like Batman. I've never liked Batman. He is not at all.
I like Batman, but I'm gonna call him on his bullshit, okay? Because he could have gone the humanitarian route.
He actually has.
Instead of making more or
see, y'all don't watch or pay attention to the shows. Like they want. Like first of all,
I do.
Hold on. Now everybody got to speak on my man's. So now it's time for me to step on up. Okay. Now listen. Yes, he is a billionaire, but ma'am, do you think the Joker would stop because he was put into some? He's a sadist. That's what I'm saying. He's a narcissist.
Why won't he kill the Joker? Why won't he just get rid of the Joker? Why does he keep leaving him alive to terrorize Gotham year after year, decade after decade?
Ma'am,
I'm sorry.
calm down. Let me continue. Okay.
You
So
know why, actually.
Wayne Industries, for starters, Wayne Industries does pump money into Gotham all the time. They have given all types of things. They have built schools and hospitals and all types of shit. They have literally, when Harvey, who was running for DA, who was, fantastic, was a great candidate before he lost his girlfriend and, whatever. Great candidate. Who backed him? Bruce Wayne did. That's who. Because he is trying from the other side to constantly assist and help people. But unfortunately, due to a ton of reasons, Gotham is like flooded with monsters, and half of those monsters are in crime. And yes, henchmen suck. And yes, it is difficult to find jobs in places like Metropolis and Gotham where your shit's getting broken down and busted up all the time.
I'm going to hold you there. Metropolis is doing a whole lot better because Superman is on his shit. Superman is mostly going to other places. Superman's going to other places fixing stuff. That's what he's doing. And
He don't
people come to Metropolis to mess with Superman. His time's fine. Metropolis is fine.
You don't think people come to Gotham to fuck with? Okay, the
Where
point
does the
is,
Flash?
No,
how is the
they
Flash
don't, because
in his city so safe when all he can do is run fast?
Thank you. Even Spider-Man is keeping Brooklyn and Queens on.
Spider-Man is keeping Brooklyn
safe. Queens. He's keeping Queens on lock. Spider-Man is keeping Queens on lock.
Spider-Man also lives in a universe with like 15,000 other heroes in the same fucking 4 blocks. Like, okay, never mind. The point is Bruce Wayne has tried on both sides to fix the issue. He works outside the police because the police are so fucking corrupt. There has been
thank you. He is the police. Does he not wrap the people up and leave them to the
Batman is a cop.
Now you know
Batman is a cop.
He's a cop.
Now you know you're not right because the cops in that city are trash. They're trash. So he's trying to do
trash. Batman is low-key trash. He's
Batman trash. He's the king of trash.
All he does is try to save people. How is he trash?
No, that's not all he does. What else does he do?
He doesn't have no relationship. He picks up orphans and gives them purpose. He trains people. He uses his money to literally like change people's lives and flip their lives around. Now they got purpose and skills, and they can go out and fight.
Listen, I don't agree that he has done enough with the resources that he has.
Death about Batman. All know about Bruce Wayne. Okay,
fix everything, and he has tried with his money to work on the other side, and it has not worked. So what did he do? He put on a bat costume. And
he didn't start with that though. He didn't start with the. He did not start with the funding. He did not. No, he didn't. He continued the program that his father put in place, but he did not start with, "Hey, let me find out what the actual issues are." He didn't start there. He did not start there.
I mean, when he's a teen learning stuff and trying to build his, trying to fight crime his way, probably not. But he eventually got to that place, and he absolutely, as many billionaires do, is philanthropic. He has done parts. He's done what he can.
Ain't no such thing as a philanthropic billionaire. Ain't no fucking. You know what? Let me chill out.
Not in our universe.
All right. I appreciate this question, Ashley, and I think it lends itself to move into our last topic of the night. We have been doing a rewatch of Star Wars.
Yes.
And as we talk, okay, Alexa, nobody asked you any questions. She was about to tell me.
Nobody talking to you.
Nobody was talking to her. She literally told me the plot of the movie, and that's not even. I didn't ask. As we move into the next movie, we're going to be talking about episode 5, Empire
Strikes Back.
Literally,
and I think it.
Of the franchise.
I think if we tie it back to what we were talking about, when you want to talk about all the topics we talked about today, a villain whose presence created like that. Mind you, episode 4 was supposed to be it. Like it was supposed to be Star Wars, and that's it. But people were so enthralled with a man who only had 12 minutes of screen time that they went ahead and made Empire Strikes Back, which you guys are saying now is the best movie in the whole franchise. Now, why is that?
Oh, so many reasons. I feel like you get a lot of answers. There's lots of exposition in this movie. The first movie was all right, it introduced an interesting world, but it didn't give us enough of the whys of things or what's really. And this movie does that, gives us some answers, gives us even better questions. And it kind of shows, I think, that the Jedi aren't 100. That was like the first time, like my goodness, Luke Skywalker not being told about his family history and all those things, like that's something that absolutely could have been done. And it happens all the time when they're building these heroes. It's really annoying. Is that like the good side is not fully ready to talk about the things that they need to discuss to prepare this hero. He's got to, and he always encounters it too early. Like nobody expected him to run into whomever to figure out his family history and all this. And that's it's an annoying trope, but it was interesting to see play out this way. And
I definitely think Yoda could have told Luke who his daddy was, especially when they were talking about him Vader using Leia and Han as a trap. And he was like, he wants you and he's using them to get you. He could have been like, that's your daddy. Like,
by the way, tidbit.
that's your
And
daddy. And
right?
he's not gonna hurt Leia. That's his daughter. So we're good here. Don't
Yeah.
go. Finish
By the way,
training.
that's your sister. Like just none of that
But
information.
then we wouldn't have the hero have his tragedy. That was, well, when we thought that Luke was the hero, that was Luke's tragedy, was finding out that his dad is the Prince of Darkness, basically. And while he's having his own struggles with light and dark.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's a great story. It was just, that trope is annoying, but it was still good. I enjoyed it. Obviously, it's my favorite out of all of them. And I do think that I feel like a lot of people hate the new trilogy, not the newer trilogy, but the episode 1, 2, and 3. A lot of people hate on it, but I feel like they mostly explained, the situation with Vader and everything
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
really good way, in a way that I was like, okay, this makes sense. And it's always that hidden, y'all ain't telling
Hmm.
me the whole truth. Like
Yep.
it's literally that, and it bugs the shit out of me that the light side always does that. Just like, can you not just be honest? So yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Melanie? What you think of episode 5?
I was not excited about it. Again, this goes back to my issue with villains. I think we did get, to your point, get a lot of answers about some things that were left open in the first movie. But I wanted more, I guess. And I got that. So on the flip side, I got that from the prequels. So for me, those resonate more with me to understand how we got to where we are here. I did not understand what Vader's catalyst, like, why are you doing this? Like, I didn't understand any of that. And I think it didn't resonate with me. Going back and watching it again, I think I'm a little annoyed that Luke didn't take his training as more seriously until the third movie. We'll get there. And I mean, if you told me that there was this force that I can tap into and have these power, I would like dive all the way in. But I feel like he was wasting Yoda's time.
But then he
Agreed.
wouldn't have been considered the hero if he didn't sacrifice his own training to go and rescue his friends, because that's what the hero does. They're like, fuck me and all of that shit, I'm gonna go rush in and save my friends.
Yeah, and I get that. I just
But even while he
Luke
was
Luke
there,
Luke wasn't my favorite character.
yeah.
So a story that was mostly focused on him did not do much for me. It did highlight for me that we needed to know more about Darth Vader, and then
Oh yeah.
learning what we learned about their relationship. Okay, that there's complexities there that I want more of. So for me, it wasn't until the prequels that I was like, oh, and like having that knowledge now changes how I view episode 5, right? Because I
Yeah.
understand who this person is.
No, I
So
get
on
that.
first time watching it, it didn't, I don't know, everyone was like, oh my God, it's better. Well, it was better than episode 4, because I went into episode 4 and was like, this is what you guys are excited about. But I was looking at it with 20th century, I mean, with 2018 eyes, not 1970s eyes. And when you're looking at some of the graphics and special effects, it doesn't come across the same. Now that I watch it, I'm watching it more for the character development and the just explanation of what the force is, and I really enjoy that. And that's what I kind of enjoyed about this movie the most. Was I wish we had gotten more time with Yoda. in general.
Yeah, Yoda's a motherfucking badass, and ain't nobody prepared me for that. Like, I told people I was watching Star Wars. Listen, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I am becoming a huge Star Wars fan, but I haven't been for many, many years. And literally zero people warned me about Yoda being the baddest motherfucker in this motherfucking
He
galaxy.
is. He is the top. He is the
Rude.
top dude. The
It's
top
amazing.
echelon. He is the master of masters. I mean, this short little green thing. Did you see him flip it?
Yes.
Yoda's that
And
dude.
also though,
Yoda's that dude.
just like, why does he have a walking stick? You know he don't need it. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm trying to be humble. It's okay. We gonna tic tac our way into this room and beat everybody out." Like,
Not tip tap.
just
Yeah.
oh,
I
love it.
think the other thing that bothered me was how, I don't know, to the point we were making before about certain things being embedded into the culture, they let this man, they let Palpatine and the Order, not the Dark, First Order,
First Order, right?
First Order, take control because of the inadequacies of the Jedi. They got too lax. They
Yeah.
got to. I mean, I'm stepping ahead, and
Also,
we'll talk about this when we get into
yes,
the
but you're right.
prequels. But like, how do you let something like this happen under your nose when you were supposed to be? And the thing is, Yoda knew in his deepest mind and soul, or wherever he keeps his.
Politics, though. The Jedi was playing politics, but
And also,
that's in the first three movies, so we're not.
we go
But
skipping ahead. But the dark side can cloud their stuff so they can't see the future not that clearly on their side. You know what I mean? So I hear you, because that to me was like, how you not see this? How?
How? It's right
But
there.
they're
You
very
have people.
cloudy. And Yoda said it many times. They were like, "Yoda, what's gonna happen?" He's like, "The future is cloudy. The dark side is so clouded." So I mean, they
And I
cornered.
mean, I'm not gonna give the benefit to. I don't think all of that was Palpatine trying to stay in the side. I think that's them getting too comfortable in
I
their
think it
little.
was the complexity of Vader. That's what I
That's
think
true
it was,
too.
because they
Yeah,
didn't know which way he was actually gonna go. They didn't know what he was gonna do and what was gonna happen. So the future
and
for that was unclear.
they're the Force is literally controlled by your, like, not controlled but influenced by your emotions. So Yoda's probably looking at the dark side, but he's focusing on the person that he knows and cares about, which happened to be Darth Vader. You know what I mean? So he's focused on his duality probably. Palpatine is not only surrounded by bad people who give off the same kind of negative charges, but he's also in on bad planets and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like places where, they're going to get that same kind of cloudy negative charge. So like that negative feeling. So I mean, I can see how he could have hidden himself
In
decently
plain
well.
sight, though, he met right face to face with them multiple. You know,
Hindsight.
it made me angry. It made me
I
really
hear you.
mad.
Listen,
The
also that
Jedi,
Right
the
there.
Jedi
he just had that
dropped
hood
the
on
ball.
to right here.
They
That hood.
dropped the ball, and
Yeah,
it's upsetting. It's
they
upsetting.
did. And they lost everybody. Like, ugh. Okay,
Me
go
and
ahead.
my Star Wars journey, I watched the prequels first, the first three movies. I watched those first as a kid when they came out in 99, 2000, and 2001, I think.
Hmm.
Maybe 99, 2001, and two. I don't know. Early 2000s. I was young. So I watched those first. And so the first, uh, what am I thinking of? My first impression of Darth Vader was, no, these Jedi fucking suck. Y'all are terrible, and y'all are the reason why he turned out this way. And I see it. I see it. So then watching the next three movies after that, I understood Darth Vader's motivations. Like, I know you said, Melanie, you didn't understand why he was doing those things until you watched the prequels. So by the time I watched the
You
original,
were on board, yeah.
right, I understood I
Yeah.
knew what was going on. So I was like, no,
Let
I
me
get
just say, for me, watching the prequels, I watched episode 1 and I watched episode 2, and I'll get more into that when we talk about those on the show. I had to stop because in my head I was like, you're telling me that this promising young man turns into that evil? What happened? And I didn't think you could do enough in one movie to explain to me how you go from this like cute kid who just wants to do better for the world because he grew up as a slave into this like megalomaniac almost. Like, how does that happen? Oh,
See, I don't think he was a megalomaniac because like he understood his place and he also understood his power. You know what I'm saying? So he had people that he answered to, he had people that he submitted to, but he was still like, but I'm still Darth Vader. Like I'm still a bad bitch in my own right. So
I mean, for me, this man was going around cutting out people's windpipes, just tossing whoever he wanted to get whatever objective he needed to. Did you say, ma'am?
he said, I might not
I
be
would have said. Like, oh, he's choking us. Oh, my next.
Stop it.
A little bit, just a little bit, lightly.
I'm bad too.
Oh my god!
I'm messed up too, Zaddy.
I also lack confidence in
I'm testing your faith too. That's what I'm doing. I don't think that's just real. You can't force choke me. I don't believe you.
I don't believe you.
Y'all learned too much tonight. Whew. No, I think episode 5 was definitely gave us a lot. And for me, I will say this, it did say to me, okay, I got to keep watching. So it definitely did that for me. So I was excited. We will continue to talk about Star Wars in the next few episodes. So we've got 6 more movies to talk, 7 more
So many movies. I'm so ready.
So many
movies.
I'm so ready, guys. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. Well, ladies, I think that is all the Disness we had for today. I will remind our listeners that you can find us on the social medias at down the number 2 Disness, DISNESS, on all of the social medias except for Facebook. So you find us on Twitter, you find us on Instagram, YouTube, and we will have our episode up on YouTube for you to listen to as well. We really need you guys to subscribe. That's what we would really like for you to do.
Please,
thank you.
Subscribe and share it. Share the Instagram page. Let your friends know about it.
Yes, we would appreciate that. And then if you guys have a Disney question of the day, a DQOTD. If you have a Disney question of the day, feel free to send it to us. We love talking about stuff Disney. You see, we also tie it to lots of other things. So, feel free to tweet us, DM us, leave a comment on YouTube, and we will add that to future episodes. Ladies, it was wonderful chatting with you tonight.
Always.
I loved it. Exhilarating conversation, ladies.
All right. We will see you guys next week. And thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.